company. At least I
what
can
you
count
doing
on
here,
Darren to
That's
be here
right,
on
absolutely.
Thursdays and Fridays
I
with
mean,
me.
I know, Molly. I got your back, Molly.
Thank you.
Why do we have a cowboy on the set? I don't understand.
A champion cowboy,
That's right.
Stephen A.
Three
Smith.
rings.
3 rings.
3 rings. Champ.
Whatever.
Okay.
Well, you know, preseason. It's technically like preseason, or you know, it's after the playoffs. So nothing wrong with having a cowboy
Max.
here. It's not like
That's
the
a good
playoffs
point.
are going
That's a
on.
good point.
Go
That's a
ahead,
good point.
Max. Go do
I
something
mean,
else, Max.
Cowboys
Let's
are
talk.
You
not
all
really
keep
relevant
reading.
right
All
now.
right, we
Can
go
we stay
from
along
3
the subject?
Super Bowl rings to 3 suspensions. That would be what Josh Gordon has. Stephen A., I want to start with you on this one. Who deserves a chance more? Would you lean towards Johnny Manziel or Josh Gordon?
Damn. I didn't even know that was going to be the question. I gotta be honest with you, because as far as I'm concerned, neither.
It's an easy
I
question.
mean, I don't know. I swear to you, I just totally forgot. Let me be very, very clear. Josh Gordon is a superstar talent. But when you have suffered multiple drug suspensions, and then you are brought back when the NFL literally compromises its policy, lets you back with the team early so you can hang out with them, work out with them, etc. And then on the eve that you are supposed to return, you check yourself into rehab again? I mean, damn. I want to give the brother a chance now, but I mean, I just don't know. I just don't. Now, Johnny Manziel ain't even in his stratosphere talent-wise. So from a talent perspective, you know, it's no comparison. It would be Josh Gordon. But in terms of taking a chance on somebody, Johnny Manziel's multiple problems, well documented. Nobody's oblivious to that. At the same time, doesn't appear to have the addictive tendencies that Josh Gordon has in terms of what has been reported officially. You know what I'm saying?
We don't know about that.
Stephen A., you don't need to tie yourself into a logical pretzel over this one. The answer is very easy and straightforward.
I need help. I confess, I need help. I need help with this one. Go ahead, Max.
And by the way, so do Josh Gordon and Johnny Manziel. They both struggled with addiction and probably continue to struggle with addiction. That's a one-day-at-a-time type thing. They're going to have to deal with that every day. So there's recidivist behavior in terms of what got them out of the league in the first place. But if you do the time, then you're why not be reevaluated? And I don't think that struggling with addiction on an ongoing basis is enough to disqualify someone from playing. So then it becomes about the talent. And where Gordon just struggles with addiction, it seems, Johnny Manziel struggles with addiction and not being good enough. That's where he really struggles. He ain't good enough.
Yeah.
He was maybe going to be good enough out of college, but was the type of player that you had to redo your whole offense around if he could have even been good enough. That's Johnny Manziel. Forget him. I wouldn't mess around with him or take a flyer on him. But Josh Gordon, in this era of receivers, you know how I feel about Odell Beckham Jr., the only receiver at a similar age to Odell who was anywhere near him was Josh Gordon. He was a transcendent type of next-level talent. Hell yeah, I would give him another shot. I'd keep giving him shots if I were a team looking for help there. You know, and if he kept blowing it, I'd probably keep giving him shots. Again, struggling with addiction, that's something that people, not to enable a problem, but if the person is serious about coming to grips with it, they deserve multiple opportunities. Manziel struggling with, you ain't good enough.
Right. And listen, I think it's a risk reward. And I think it depends on the appetite of each and every team. Listen, if you're a team that likes, doesn't mind having a situation where a Johnny Manziel comes in and, like you guys just said, the talent level is Josh Gordon is who he is. We know this guy, we've seen him on tape. We know what he can do. We still don't know. The question marks are still out there on Johnny Manziel. So it's a risk reward. If you bring in Johnny Manziel into your locker room, do you really want to have to deal with the off-the-field issues on a backup quarterback, which he primarily will be, a backup quarterback? Josh Gordon, he's a number one guy. I mean, if he can come back, get rid of the, what do you call it, Stephen A., all the good that he's out there smoking. If he can get rid of that habit.
The weed.
The weed. If he can get rid of that habit and you can get a guy and be half as productive as he's been in the past, then you have something. And that's the way I look. I think it's just, it's almost like
Darren,
this.
one quick thing with it. One thing, Stephen A., what's the reality of it, though, when he hasn't played since 2014? Like, I know in 2013 he had a breakout year. For a receiver to have 2 full years off?
2 full years. Well, still, listen, you're going to go through that whole – teams are going to qualify him. The teams are going to go out there. They're going to look at him and say, look, we got to go through the whole progress of looking in his past, of course, give him a physical, get him out there on the field and see what he can do. Listen, I would take a flyer on Josh Gordon in a hot minute. If I'm a team that needs a number 2 receiver, and this guy can give me half of that production, absolutely he's getting a shot.
Let me explain. I don't disagree with either of y'all. You're absolutely right. I don't mean to imply that. I'm just trying to highlight what my struggle is, Max, Darren, for this purpose. Josh Gordon is clearly an exponentially superior talent. I'm not denying that. What I am saying is, even though Johnny Manziel has addiction problems, it is something that we surmise based on his reported behavior, not multiple suspensions. He had a domestic violence incident. That was a problem. He had alcohol in college. That was an issue. He had this party tendencies because he comes from an affluent background, having nothing to lose. It's all a game. It ain't necessarily a priority. So he was perceived, fairly or not, he was perceived as an individual living fast and loose because he could afford to. That's entirely different than somebody who comes from nothing, who has nothing, who elevates himself to literally superstar status, is in line to make tens of millions of dollars, where it would mean more to him than it would ever mean to somebody coming from an affluent lifestyle like Johnny Manziel, and then still turns around and blows it because he can't stay off whatever he can't stay off.
I'm not going to punish.
And that's what I'm saying. There's a difference here.
I'm not going to let Johnny Manziel slide because his family has dough and Josh Gordon's doesn't. That's not, to me, that's more of a reason to be down on Johnny Manziel. And by the way, if Josh Gordon is addicted to weed, I don't mean to make light of any addiction to anything.
Neither do I.
But addicted to weed, I mean, Dave Chappelle had a joke about that in Half Baked. I'll leave it there. Johnny Manziel, before he ever even got to camp, as soon as he turned pro, I think it was after the draft, there was a picture of him in a bathroom with a rolled-up dollar bill. I mean, that's a totally different situation.
Yeah, well,
a much more serious.
Go ahead, Darren.
Implies a much more serious situation.
Absolutely. I look at Johnny Manziel's. His problem is social media. The way he goes about his business and the perception that's out there. Yes, it may be a weed problem and it may be an alcohol problem, but it's also a social media problem as well. Josh Gordon, let's just call it what it is. Every team out there is going to have a quarterback guru, a quarterback coach that says, we can fix Johnny Manziel's problem if I can get my hands on him. He may get a second or third shot. Absolutely. But I can look at all 32 teams. You better believe when Josh Gordon reinstates himself, that's today, am I right, Molly? When he reinstates himself today, there will be 32 teams who will take a look at Josh Gordon because of the upside that he brings.
Please allow me to close this segment by saying this. All I'm trying to say is there is a vast difference between somebody who lives fast and loose because it's like they have nothing to lose, and somebody who has everything to lose and can't help themselves. I know Josh Gordon's on another level.
Fair. It's
Johnny
a different
Manziel
hunger.
doesn't even deserve to be mentioned in the same breath. But that was my issue here.
I get what
the
you're
debate
saying.
there.
A different hunger there. And speaking of second chances in the Browns, Hugh Jackson currently trending on Twitter because he's saying they won't pursue Colin Kaepernick despite heavy interest last year. Darren, always good to see you.
Thank you, Mom.
Fortunately, you have to go. Coming up, Isaiah Thomas, we'll see you on NFL Live, led the C's to a big win over Kyrie Irving in the East, leading Cavs. Did last night prove he's the better.
Embrace mine like a crooked two. 4 takes, that's you. 3 takes, not me. 2 takes if you lucky. First take, stop me. 4 takes, that's you. 3 takes, not me. 2 takes if you lucky. First take, you got me.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into First Take on this Friday Eve. Thank you so much for hanging with us. Molly Karam here in Bristol. Your boys, Stephen A. and Max. There they are. Coming to us from New York. Hi, guys. How we feeling?
What's up? What's up?
What up, Molly?
What's up?
We had a game last night, gentlemen. You want to get into it?
Quite a game.
That's why we here.
Quite a
That's why we
game.
here.
Let's do it. How about those Celtics? Last night did not disappoint. 24 lead changes, including 10 in the fourth, as LeBron James tied his career high with his 7th triple-double of the season. But it wasn't enough. Boston outlasting Cleveland with Bill Belichick courtside. Isaiah Thomas is the first player with at least 3 30-point games versus Cleveland in a single season since both Dwayne Wade and Allen Iverson did it. That was back in the 05-06 season. The loss was Cleveland's first on the road this season when leading in the fourth. Stephen A. Smith, got a question for you. How legit a threat are the Celtics to the Cavs in the East?
Well, I think it's a legitimate threat. I think they can make things very, very interesting. I don't see a 5-game series, them getting blown away or what have you, because I think sometimes the Cleveland Cavaliers are relatively inconsistent. And what I mean by that is they'll look like gangbusters one game, and then they look like they fell asleep the next game. And Boston is just feisty. I'm still not ruling out the Washington Wizards or the Toronto Raptors, mind you, because they're legitimate threats. And again, with the Wizards being a 3 seed, you know, they got to fight with Boston, and that could zap a lot out of Boston if Boston were to win that series. I get all of that. But I guess what I'm saying is when I look at those two teams in particular, the Boston Celtics and the Washington Wizards, and I look at the way that they play and the way that they get up for the Cleveland Cavaliers, you know you're the prohibitive underdog going up against LeBron James in a playoff series if you're a team within the Eastern Conference. And unlike most other teams, with these two teams, it seems to get them going. They seem to elevate their level of play to another level. Isaiah Thomas is a bona fide, legitimate league MVP candidate. He's an absolute stud. Marcus Smart, I mean, this dude, he scares the living hell out of you when he's on the court because he's so adroit at drawing offensive fouls. Nobody, I don't know anybody in the league right now who's better than him at that. I think he's drawing more offensive fouls than the rest of his entire team. Avery Bradley is one of the best defenders in basketball when healthy on that basketball court. He's just a special defender. And I can't say enough about Brad Stevens and how he could coach. Max, I'm willing to go as far as to say this. I believe two things. Number one, this would be a 7-game series potentially if they faced each other in a conference finals. Obviously, I'm still going to favor Cleveland, but I think it would be a 7-game series, A. And B, Max, I'd go as far as to question whether or not Kevin Durant was right in going to Golden State instead of Boston because of what I'm seeing in that regard. Go ahead.
Well, first, just quickly about Durant. I thought Boston was a great spot for Kevin Durant. Yeah. It's too bad he didn't go there. And had he gone to Boston, in fact, they may be the favorites over the Cavs right now. But the fact is he didn't go to Boston, and consequently, Boston is not a threat to the Cavs in the East, barring catastrophic injury, of course, to a pivotal player on the Cavs, especially, obviously, LeBron James. But they're not, in fact. They're a player away, and that player, Kevin Durant would have been really nice, Paul George, Gordon Hayward, Jimmy Butler, someone like that. It's not just that they're a player away and it has to be a nice rotation piece. They're a star player away. Let's look at what just happened last night in a terrific game. And by the way, let me just say, I like the fact that the Eastern Conference is chippy again. Not just good at the top with those 4 teams, Toronto, obviously, and Washington and Boston and Cleveland, but chippy. You know, it's more physical, it looks like, than the West, like it used to be. That's fun to see. That's the character of the conference. It always has been. But when you look at what happened yesterday, Boston, health and wealth, Stephen A.
Thank you.
Boston playing at home, Cavs on the road. Cavs without Kevin Love, without J.R. Smith, trying to integrate a brand new piece in Darren Williams, who, by the way, takes the last shot. Should he have taken the shot? I mean, yes, but still, maybe there's a little more easy integration there in terms of the way they play. With all those factors working against the Cavs, it was an amazing game, came down to the wire, and the Celtics barely won. The Celtics